Don't look for the one. That's the thing. I'm looking for the one. They've got to be perfect. And so that's the problem with online dating. We swipe because they don't look right. They're not tall enough. Their hair isn't right. They don't have the same interests as us. And yet when you meet people, often people meet someone at work and they grow a relationship by giving them time. And the problem with online is we're judged immediately and we reject people very quickly. So I would say be open-minded.
Hey everybody, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about love and all the different beliefs about love, maybe the ones that you have that aren't so positive that may prevent you from getting or keeping the love of your life, whether that's with your children, with your significant other, with your parents, with your grandparents, with just the people around you in your space. And then we're going to talk about the beliefs that you would want to have to attract the most wonderful love, to maintain it, to build it, to grow it, and to have a life full of it. What is the goal of love? Like basically everything that we do revolves around it, right? Whether it's with community or whether it's with our significant other or family. But love at one end can be the most beautiful thing that we experience. It can be the most painful thing that we experience beyond everything else that happens in life. How do we make sense of this?
Because love can make you very vulnerable. It's, oh God, I love this baby so much, this person. I can't be without them. You begin to buy into this song, I'd die if you leave me. All these songs, you're the only person in the world, I'll never find another you. I can't breathe without you. I can't live without you. So the media tell us a lie. Love makes you vulnerable. That's not a lie. But when you love someone, you have a great love, you never recover from the pain. It's better to have loved and lost, which is true, but songs don't tell you that. They say, oh, I'll never find this love again. I wish I'd never met you. There's a great kind of feelings. I wish I'd never met you and you'll never come again. And that isn't true. What's true is when you love someone, you have a template for love. You find love again and again and again because you have a template. So Paul McCartney had a great love with Linda. Now he's got a great love with Nancy. He had a blip in the middle. But many people who've had a great love will say, my wife died, my husband, I found someone else. I'm having another great love. I still love my first partner, but I found love again, which is not surprising because you have a template for love. And the more you have love, the more you'll continue.
You have great love in your life.
I do.
In many different ways.
In many different ways.
How would you define it?
I think love is being there for someone who is there for you. It's that great mutual relationship where you're giving and receiving love. You give love. It's about like this cup. You know, I start the day and my cup is full and I tip a bit out for my husband, my daughter, my clients, my pets, but they in turn fill my cup up. So I'm giving and receiving all day. Some people just give and then they have an empty cup, and other people just receive. But it's love is where you go to give and receive. You don't just go to give. You'll say love, you go to give and you give. No, you give and receive. It's that symbiotic relationship where you're giving and receiving, giving warmth and getting it back. And it's such a beautiful thing because it's someone is there for you, having someone there for you. I care about you. I care about myself. I care about you.
So you've identified what makes you feel supported and loved, and like he's got your back, and you've identified the for him.
It's the belonging. A couple of years ago, I was in a country doing a talk, and someone came up and said, we've got 14 kids who are suicidal. Could you work with these children? I said, of course, absolutely. And I was going to hypnotize these 14 kids from age 13 to 18. One was a very well-known footballer, but they all were suicidal. And so I said, okay, I want you to lie in a circle with your head so I can walk around the circle and work. I want you to hold a piece of paper, put it on your chest so that I can look down and see what you need. What do you need? Just write a word or a phrase. And they all wrote the same thing. I just want to belong to somebody. We need to belong. After all, it wasn't long ago that survival was a numbers game. If you watch Game of Thrones, what made you survive? Belonging to a group or at least somebody. And so it's the feeling of belonging. I'm coming home to you, I'm waking up to you, I'm going to sleep with you, and we belong to each other. It's not an ownership, it's not about owning. It's that feeling of someone's got my back. I matter to somebody, because human beings need to matter. They need to be connected, they need to feel significant, they need to feel safe. And when you have someone, you feel more safe, more significant. Of course you can be alone and feel safe, but it's hard to feel significant, loved and connected when you're living alone. That's why all cultures use solitary confinement as a punishment, banishing, sending kids to their room, room, casting you out, denying you human company. And Romeo and Juliet, when they banished him, he said, I'd rather be killed, frankly. So we know that disconnection is a punishment and we dread it. And the opposite of that is connection. In fact, when we're born, we are hardwired and supercoded to find connection and avoid rejection, yet we now live in a world where we're finding more and more rejection and less connection.
What about this like neutral ground, or this like middle ground where maybe they say it but they don't feel it, but they don't necessarily reject it, but they don't have that powerful feeling, right? How does someone go from anything other than great to great?
You have to really look again at your beliefs. For me, I had a very interesting childhood. I wouldn't say I wasn't loved, but I didn't feel very important. My father was a principal, a head teacher, very interested in other people's kids. My mother was desperately unhappy and always ill. It was this life that looked great from the outside, but it wasn't great. But I went to live with my grandmother, and that was like heaven. Oh my God, I loved that. To this day, I can remember living with her, and that was real love. I mean, she just loved me. She thought I was a genius. She cooked for me. She took me out. She just delighted in my company. But being the head teacher's daughter, I knew that I couldn't stay. I used to have this image of one day my dad would come to get me and I'd get on my knees and beg him to leave me there. But when he arrived, I just got in the car because I knew it couldn't last. The head teacher's daughter would not be allowed to live with her grandmother for years and years. I think I lived there for a whole year. It was amazing. But I knew I couldn't stay. So for me, I never understood why I'd go into relationships and I'd have a massive self-destruct button. I would set about destroying them really quickly. I'd have so many hoops people to jump through.
What were the hoops? How did you self-destruct?
Just expecting so much. I mean, I think of this poor guy who used to be the love of my life. I was desperately insecure, terrified of rejection. I knew it couldn't last. So when he asked me to marry him, I said, well, what's the point? It all ends in divorce. And I had this...
You said that to him?
Yeah. And he was saying to me, I'm from a Catholic family. It has to be forever. I said, well, never be forever. Everyone in my family is divorced. So I had this cynical belief about love. I wanted it to last, but I didn't believe it could. And then I realized, of course, that was my grandmother, that little girl who wanted to live with her grandmother and couldn't. So every time I met someone to love me, it was like my grandmother. They loved me, I loved them. It was all wonderful, but I was waiting for it to end right at the beginning, waiting for it and planning the end. And so I had to really go back and undo that and look at that and go, but that was then. I was just a kid. I had no say in my future. I couldn't choose where to live, how long to live there for. I had no say in that at all. But now, of course, I can choose love. And so then, because after the lovely people that loved me, then I picked really unsuitable people who would reject me. That was my next step. So I've done all the picking lovely people and systematically making them reject me because for the way I behaved. And then my next step was to find people that weren't even suitable for me at all, because then it had to end, because they were all the crazy wild guys. But then I remember understanding it. That was an epiphany for me, because in that minute everything changed. And now I've been happily married for 15 years, and I can't even remember what that's like to not feel worthy of love. But that's a good story, because it means you have to work on it. Some of us, we didn't have a dad, our dad wasn't around, we had an upset mum, a stressed mum, like Tony Robbins, growing up with multiple fathers coming into his life. But then we have to say, oh, but that's not me anymore. That was a little kid, and of course it shaped me, influenced me, but I get to choose now. I get to have agency. So I began to tell myself something different. And then something else about my upbringing was I watched my father literally pick up his briefcase and go to work, and he was so fulfilled. This work just was a balm to his very soul. But my mother would cry and get admitted to hospital and very hysterical and dramatic because she was completely unfulfilled. She was beautiful. I mean, stunningly beautiful, and really unhappy. My father was very cerebral. They had terrible fights, but he would go to work, and my mother would just lie on the sofa and cry. And I remember thinking, oh, you got to get a great job. You got to get a great job. A great job takes away the pain of when your relationship goes. It was never if, it was always when. You see, that another thing, I predicted that they all go wrong. You have a phenomenal career, it's balm, it's solve. And so I always had amazing careers, but I didn't really have amazing. I had one in particular, two actually, that were amazing, except I had this belief, and that's the thing, the beliefs get in the way, they unravel everything.
What did you finally do? Because you had been a therapist during a lot of this time, so I'm sure you were aware that you were doing it.
I became aware as a therapist, yeah, very early on.
What did you do that finally moved everything to where you could open up to love like this?
There was a couple of things. I remember one of my clients saying, oh my God, you must have the best marriage in the world because you've helped me so much. Or they say, gosh, your husband is such a lucky man. I thought, well, I haven't actually got one. If only they knew. So I was helping sort out everyone else's relationship, making them believe they're worthy of love, helping people that were that close to divorce. And then I thought, gosh, I really must do this for myself too. And I was a single parent by then. And so then I began really looking at the beliefs and the same thing, where did I get this belief? Who told me this? Was it true? Well, yes, it was true. The head teacher's daughter couldn't live with her grandmother.
And how did you identify your own beliefs? What's that process?
You just asked us a lot of questions. Where did this belief come from?
So like, which belief?
The belief that relationships don't last. Where did that come from? Was it watching my parents' very unhappy marriage and divorce, or was it more than that? You see, the mind is a brilliant mind. When you ask it a question, it will answer it. You can't go, why am I so unlucky in love? Because that's the statement, I'm unlucky in love. Why? You got to do the how, what. What happened to me that led me to feel I can't have lasting love? How could I find out where these beliefs came from? How can I change them? When you ask a question, the brilliant mind will answer it. I began to ask myself questions. I never say to people, what's wrong with you? They say, what happened to you? So I mean, what happened? What's wrong with me? Why can't I find and keep love? But what happened to me that enabled me to deny myself love? Because I'm doing it to myself. And when I asked that question, then I began to have these memories. And a good thing is to do it before you go to bed at night. Tell me subconscious while I'm sleeping what happened to me, how's that, and what is that doing to me? And I remember the scenes with my grandmother and with my parents fighting and my father going to work. Now I've got the information, but that's not enough. Because now you go, oh, well, of course, and of course it goes wrong because of this, you see, and now I'm stuck because I got the information. Now I've got confirmation bias. I can justify it, which can actually make it worse. So getting the information is only step one. Step two is change it, start to replace that. And I had this very interesting, it's a very weird thing, I couldn't tell anyone this for years, but when I was born, my mother told me that she cried for months after I was born because I was the wrong baby. And then she told me later she was having an affair with my dad's best friend and she wanted me to be his baby. And when I was born, she was so disappointed that I wasn't his baby, and she couldn't quite get over it because she wanted to keep a bit of this man. But then she had me, and she always said I was so upset. But then I later thought, well, I could reframe that. That's kind of cool, because when I was born, both my father and this man were there. I had two men who wanted me. That's a good thing. I wish I'd known that when I was 18 and 19 and 20. Devastated by relationships ending. I should have known that. I had a great shame about that. And then later I reframed it. Wow, even when I was born, I had two people wanted me. I could have had twice the love, twice the desire. So the ability to reframe anything. So when you get the information, oh, I was the wrong baby. Should have been a boy, should have been a girl, should have been a scientist, should have been an athlete. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. You have to reframe it. Look, I came through my parents, but not from them. The universe meant me to be me, just the way I am, and me is worthy of love. So I began to take out of those damaging scenes the goods of how much my grandmother loved me. I was everything to her, and I thought, well, I can keep that, because I think she loved me, didn't die when she died, it's still there. And anyone can do that, go back to the scenes. It's like my partner left and they don't want me anymore. Yeah, but everything they loved in you, they didn't pack that in their case. Go, I'm leaving you, and by the way, I'm taking every compliment, every nice thing I said, it's all coming with me, because it's still in you. If somebody loved you once and once said, oh my God, you're everything. If they ever said that once, then there was something in you that nobody can remove from you. So then you think, okay, that was a starter relationship. One of my clients said, I failed at my marriage. I'm like, it's a starter marriage, it's like having a starter home. So it's all about reframing. Somebody wanted you to be here, and here you are, and you're worthy of love and you're deserving of love. So really tune into what you say. Who could love me? I got cellulite. Who could love me? I'm not rich. You could love me. I didn't even have a dad, blah, blah, blah. But then you have to say, no, I'm lovable. And if you want to quantify, I am lovable because I'm lovable. I'm worthy of love, because I promise you, you are someone's fantasy dream come true with your cellulite and your issues. Someone's going to go, that's my type. In fact, one of my clients said, I said, I saw my wife. He said she had tattoos all the way down. I thought, oh, that's my thing. And he went for her immediately because these tattoos said something to him. and she had them all the way down her back, and he found that so sexy. And another of my friends said that when her husband was working out, he said, you were sweating all down your back, and he said, I thought it was the sexiest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Your hair was flat. I mean, who would have thought that? But we forget that what we find attractive, somebody else won't. And so you have to decide, I am someone's fantasy dream come true. Someone, my gran used to say, every pan has its lid. And so I like that every pan has a lid, and you're someone else's lid, and someone else is your pan. But we deny ourselves love because of this belief. I've got to have fat hair and thin thighs, but I seem to have fat thighs and thin hair, therefore I don't count. You do count. We've got to stop getting away from this belief that it's the packaging. You've got to have breasts up here and perfect skin or a six-pack and money. And that is not what makes someone love you. It's your imperfections that make someone love you.
So is there a delineation between, say, positive and negative reframing? Or is it just all good to reframe?
It's all good to reframe. You only need to do one thing to find love. Nothing has to be snipped off or added. There's nothing to add or remove to find love. I've seen many clients who've come in and told me this story, I can't find love, and they go back to the father saying, nobody will ever love you like me. You'll never find anyone to love you like me. I love you so much. Nobody could ever love you like me. And much later, I had a baby, my friend had a baby, and she began to say that. You'll never find anyone to love you like I do. And I said, don't say that. It's not my job to tell you how to parent your kid. We're both new parents, but you need to say this to your child. I love you so much because you're lovable, and all your life if I were to love you because you're lovable. You can't even say I love you because you're pretty. I love you because you're smart. I love you because you're good. I love you because you're lovable. And all your life, if I'm going to love you, just like I love you because you are lovable. Because we've got to get away from this love's got to be earned, worked for, chased. People have, I've got to be good. I've got to be perfect. I've got to earn love, earn lots of money, look amazing, be a good person who never complains. You don't chase love, or earn love, or work for love, or even find love. You allow yourself to give and receive love, to experience love. And it's such a shame that the media's made us believe you've got to work for love, work really hard. And then we say, marriage is hard work. I mean, no, it isn't hard work. It's a wonderful thing. Waking up with the flu on your own, having to get out of the bed and go to the pharmacy because you haven't got, that's hard work. When you think, I got no one to go on holiday with. Who's going to fill this prescription? But when you have some, I'll get that. You stay in bed, let me get your medicine, let me make you some soup. And it's actually hard work being single. You've got to go on holiday on your own, do your grocery shopping alone, do the cooking alone, walk your dog in the pouring rain alone. But when you have someone and you do it together and they have your back and you have theirs, that isn't hard work. So we say these crazy things, school days are the best days of your life. No, they're not. They're nothing like it. Marriage is hard work. It all goes downhill. We've got to give up these crazy beliefs. Marriage, or having someone that you love, is a wonderful thing. And you may have to work at it because you have to compromise a bit. And, to have a successful relationship, you got to do something very interesting, which is your needs. I have these needs, you have these. Whose need is more important? Sometimes yours, sometimes theirs. And you also have to understand that in the need, you have to have what, like I need a tidy house. I've had to give up that need. I had to give up the need very quickly. My husband has this gift of managing to get one tea bag in 10 different spots. It's extraordinary. But then, what's more important, my husband or the tea bags? Am I going to really kick off about the tea bags? In fact, when we got our new house, I put in a black sink. I can't even see it now. So you got to put your needs into 3 piles. This need is a must. I must know where my husband is. He must call me if he's delayed. He must say I'm on my way home. That's not negotiable. I need to feel safe in my marriage. But another need for a tidy house, well, I can meet that myself. I now got this great bleach spray to spray, and it actually seems to get up the tea and coffee stains like that. So he must meet some needs. I must meet some needs. And the third lot, I need to give them up. They're not important. It's not important. It's more important to be kind than it is to be right. More important to have a lovely marriage than get upset about the dishes or the mess or whatever it is. So when you look at your needs, you will never find one person to meet all those needs. It just isn't possible. Some needs they must meet, some needs you must meet, and some must be given up. They're just not important. But we have this belief, you're going to meet all my needs now, and I'm going to meet all of yours. And now I'm disappointed because you're not meeting this need. My husband will never meet my need to go shopping, or he'll never meet my need to watch some of the shows. So in a relationship, you really want to pick your battles. I don't like that when my husband eats oranges, he kind of sucks all the juice out. We never fight about it. He probably doesn't even know that I don't like that. But I just pick my battles. The same thing with your needs. If you give someone, you go, here's my needs, you meet them, you're setting yourself at disappointment, because the truth is you are a flawed person, and the best you can ever have in your whole life is another flawed person having a flawed relationship with you. I'm flawed, my husband's flawed. We have a beautiful flawed relationship. It's called being flawsome. My beautiful daughter is flawed. I'm a flawed mother. We have a beautiful flawed relationship. But when you try to be perfect, it's a race with no finishing line ever. We've done a terrible number on ourselves, like what we think love is. We've got one person who's going to be everything, do everything, and we're with them for 60 years. That's just not possible. Of course they'll annoy you and you'll annoy them, but you come back together because you love each other. One of my friends, who's an amazing parent, always says to their kids, we're a family, we love each other. We don't fight, we love each other. Wow. And he's always brought his kids up, we're a family, we love each other. He always comes back to love, and has raised amazing kids, and they're incredibly supportive, because that was always his go back to, what? Don't pull your sister's hair, we love each other. Hey, come here, what's going on with you? Why are you being mean to your brother? We love each other. It's not, you're a horrible kid, you just pulled your sister's hair, that's so mean, you're a bad kid. It's always, hey, you're a good kid, and we love each other. And that's such a clever thing to do, to always come back to, my partner's annoying me today, but we love each other. And for me, I think what always works is just imagine your life without them. One day you won't have a husband with underpants and socks all over the floor. One day you won't have a partner who's got makeup on the mirror or makeup on the towels. One day you won't have a kid who's smeared peanut butter all over your stainless steel fridge, and you'll wish you had. When you're having a bad moment, really imagine your life without them. And it really helps you come back to love, how lucky I am to have this person. How
and if
grateful
it makes you smile really big when you imagine your life without them, maybe it's not good.
Yeah, if you imagine your life without them a lot, then that's another problem. I see that people stay with the wrong person. More problems are created by that.
How do they identify who the right person is?
Well, they don't. They're so scared of being alone. What if I never find someone else? What if this is the best it gets? Who's going to take me on with 3 kids? Who's going to want me? I'm not perfect. And so people stay in the wrong relationship because of the fear. And yet, you don't have to fear it. There's nothing wrong with being alone. It can be wonderful being alone. Actually, how you know it's wrong is this. How does the conversation go? Is the other person talking about me? Is it like a fair relationship? Do you do things for each other? Does the conversation go both ways? Do you both get your own way? I want to go here, but you want to go there, but we'll work it out. You know when it's not working, because if you make a list of what makes me happy, what makes me sad, the happy list's got to be a lot longer. And if it's shorter, then that's not working. Before you bury it, make sure it's died. Often you can resurrect a relationship by remembering, what did you love about this person? Why did you fall in love with them? Often we just forget. Some relationships should definitely end, but if you loved somebody once for all the right reasons, make sure before you walk out on that you can't resurrect it. You can't talk about, hey, what's happened?
So what are your thoughts on dating in the world today? Like, what should people do?
I think forget about all the rules, about the rules of never accept a date on a Saturday, on a Wednesday. Don't sleep with someone on the first date. Rules are meant to be broken. I'm a fantastic rule breaker. I love breaking rules. I think, date someone. Be interested in them. Don't talk about yourself all the time. See how you feel. Just go out and have fun. There's going to be so many people you can be with. There isn't the one. Don't look for the one. That's the thing. I'm looking for the one. They've got to be perfect. And so that's the problem with online dating. We swipe because they don't look right. They're not tall enough. Their hair isn't right. They don't have the same interests as us. And yet when you meet people, often people meet someone at work and they grow a relationship by giving them time. And the problem with online is we're judged immediately and we reject people very quickly. So I would say be open-minded and don't be so judgmental, and ask the right questions. Not, has this person got a lot of hair, a lot of money, but could I be happy? Do we share the same values? Does this person make me laugh? Are they kind? Kindness is so underrated, and for me it's one of the biggest qualities in a relationship, kindness. Is someone kind, funny, interesting? I mean, looking gorgeous is great, but when you live with someone who's gorgeous, you get used to it so quickly you forget. However, funny, kind, engaging, interesting, these are the qualities you want to look for. And ask yourself a question: does this person make me laugh? Could I spend a lot of time on my worst day with a cold and a headache and the cat's just been sick on the carpet? Could this person make me laugh? 5 years after we married, I got cancer, then I got it again, and I was so glad I had my husband. I couldn't even imagine how I would have gone through that without him, because he was my rock. He was funny, he was supportive, he had to inject me in the stomach every day. And he'd always come in character. He'd be an East End gangster, he'd be a doctor, he'd be a car mechanic, he'd be some IT expert, and every day he'd do this injection being a different person. It made me laugh so much that it didn't hurt, because these injections would sting for 20 minutes, but he would make me laugh, and I was so grateful I had him. And I think that's the thing. Always be grateful. How lucky am I?
Is it important going into dating that you already have a great belief around your lovability?
Yeah, that's hugely important. You see, when you can elevate your sense of self-worth, your sense of self-value, your sense of self-image and self-esteem, people around you elevate it too. It isn't just you saying, I'm lovable, I matter, I'm significant, I'm enough. If you state it, affirm it, embody it, and own it, other people's sense of who you are goes up as well. So your sense of self, you must increase it, because other people will increase it too. So go into a date thinking, I'm amazing, I'm worthy of love, deserving of love. So is the person you're dating, of course. You're not superior, but you want to have that sense of I'm worthy of love, and I'm open to love showing up in all kinds of ways. I deserve it, I'm worth it, and I believe it's going to show up maybe in a disguise. I didn't think I was going to go for that person who was bald or smaller than me, but actually that's what happened. So go on dates really believing you are worthy of love, you're worth being with, you're deserving of love. And look at the other person, well, we know they're worthy of love too, just because you're not the right person for each other. And if you keep that belief, then not only will you find love, it will find you. And the other thing is, you do have to be proactive. I meet so many women and they go, I'm looking for love. Where? What do you mean? Where are you looking? Well, I'm not looking. I'm actually at home reading the paper. But how are you going to find out? No, I'm looking for love, but where are you looking? What do you do? If you looked for a job, you'd be out actually looking. If you looked for a house, you'd be going, I'm going to view this house and that house. You've got to look for love properly. What kind of person do I want? That's a good question. Where would they be? Maybe in an IT convention downtown, maybe instead of sitting at home with your coffee, go and sit in Starbucks in the city. Go to a busy place, go on a singles holiday. And so that's what happens. You join a running club, you join a thing cleaning up the beach. So don't sit at home. As well as going out and actively looking for love, do the things that you love. Maybe cleaning up the beach is a great thing because someone else is cleaning up. Now I've got that interest. I care about the earth, I care about the planet, I'm doing something good. And so you want to find someone that has the same values as you. Opposites attract, but not really with values. And so, I met my husband. Our kids went to the same school. We weren't together then, but later we re-met each other and the stars aligned, and we were married within 10 months. But, people say, where did you find him? I found him at the school gates. He was dropping his kids off, I was dropping mine off. We went to events and he was the parent, I was a parent.
We did a money Q&A that they probably saw. And in that, when we talked about when you've got that mindset,
yes,
the belief set of abundance, of money is attracted to me, all of those things, that you're sort of always seeing opportunities.
Yeah.
You'll know that you've got the belief that you are lovable when you are seeing love come to you all over the place.
Yeah.
I do see a potential pitfall with this where someone might say for 15 years that they're working on their lovability and their beliefs. What would you say about that?
But you don't have to work on it. You just have to. It's like putting lotion on your skin. If you put lotion on your skin, it can't reject. If you put butter on hot toast, the toast goes, I'm rejecting the butter. Put butter on hot toast, it sinks in, it seeps in, it saturates the toast. So imagine you're the toast and the words are the butter. You can't reject it. So you got to say every day, I'm lovable, I'm worthy of love. I'm just the way I am, I'm worthy of love. Don't start trying to change anything. Of course you can be the best version of you, but it's about I'm lovable just the way I'm worthy of love, I'm deserving of love. So it's a kind of a 3-step process. The first step and the most important one is let it sink in that you are worthy of love, because how could you not be worthy of love? I mean, that couldn't be possible. Who couldn't love you? You're a good person, you've got a nice heart, you've got an interesting life. Somebody is going to love you. So when you keep saying, I'm not worthy and I don't look right and I'm not successful enough, you got to stop that. I am worthy of love. Of course you are. So after you've done step one, really look at what you want and then go out and get it, because that's the thing. Oh, I've got to go out and get it. Of course you've got to go out and get it. You know, you can't even join a farming group. You know, I worked with someone who got a dog and walked the dog, and of course she found other dog walkers, a great sense of camaraderie. She found a guy with a dog, and he said, well, I can't have a dog. Well, walk old people's dogs. It's amazing what you can do. Love is often in the most unexpected places. A person whose dog you're walking, they have sons or grandsons, you know, do a bit more, think outside the box. So, you know, you're lovable, decide what you want, and then decide where is it, and then go and get it. You think, go out and get it. If you believe you're lovable and you put yourself in front of the kind of person you want to have love with, you'll end up being with them, because it's the thing. I know I'm worthy of love. That's the kind of person, where are they? I'm going to put myself around that person and I'm going to end up with them. You know, if you like farmers, there's a great website called Muddy Matches. One of my friends joined that. I'm so fed up with the city, and she's now happily living on a farm. She's got lambs and pigs and chickens, and she's so happy, because how do you find a farmer? How do you find someone? You know, we've got dating, we've got dating for people with kids, we've got dating for older people. There's a lot of dating sites, but, you know, be very single-minded. Don't spend ages talking. Meet somebody very quickly, move on to a phone call. Be very honest about what you're looking for. But the biggest step, believe you're worth it. Know you're worth it with unshakable, unwavering conviction. Because love will find you. You don't have to find it. It is all around you, half the world. And don't do that awful thing about trauma bonding, you know, or twin flame. There is not a twin flame. We weren't separated at birth. You're not trauma bonded. You're lovable and you're open to love, and you can find it with many, many people. It's never just one.
How do you determine whether or not that person is for you now or could be for you in the future? And how do you choose whether or not you should step into that?
Yeah, you know, a great relationship requires three things. It requires best friend chemistry, it requires sexual chemistry, it requires deep admiration. So what is best friend chemistry? Well, you know, if you have nothing in common, if your person wants to stay up all night and you're not, if they want to live in the country, you want to live in the city, if they have got different ideas on child raising, if you love pets, if they're sporty and you're not, then you already haven't got this best friend chemistry. And the problem is a lot of us have sexual chemistry the wrong way. They think, oh my God, the sex is amazing. Actually, I don't even really like this person, but oh my God, the sex and the sexual chemistry is the glue that keeps you together. Often having sex too quickly can be a bit of a mistake, because it can be so powerful and so bonding, and it bonds you to the wrong person. So if you can, you don't have to, but if you can, just look at this best friend chemistry. Of course, you know, you want to have sex with your best friend, so it's that balance. I like this person, I like their values, I like their interests, and actually the sex is also amazing, but also I admire them. And so you've got to have all three. People say, oh, we've got great sex, but actually we've got nothing in common. Other people say, you know, we don't even have sex, we're like sister and brother. 50% of marriages are completely celibate, which is extraordinary. After the other 50%, some of them are just doing it because they feel they should or they must. So that's a worry, that we're having less sex than our grandparents had, because we're trying to be perfect. They didn't know about the need to be perfect and have everything waxed off, and they were just having nice sex because that's what they did. But you need those three things: best friend chemistry, sexual chemistry, and admiring and respecting the other person. Best friend doesn't mean that they come everywhere with you and come to the hairdressers and watch every show. You know, my husband loves shows on IT and chemistry, and I don't love that, but we find ways of watching stuff together and separately too.
Same question as the last Q&A. If there was one belief, if there was one overarching thing that you would say is the most important belief to embody, to affirm, to code in, to wire in, what would that singular belief be to not just find, but attract, to keep, to build, to maintain, and to grow the most incredible love in every category of your life?
It would be, I'm worthy of love. You know, my garden in Notting Hill is where they filmed the movie Notting Hill. And in Notting Hill, Hugh Grant says to Julia Roberts, "You're famous." She said, "I'm also just a girl asking just a boy if he could love me." And all my friends sit on that bench and go, "I'm also just a girl asking just a boy if he could love me." But that's something, could you love me? I'm asking you to love me. You can't ask someone that question unless you think you're worthy of love. You ask that question and hoping they're going to say yes, but you could never say, "Hey, I'm asking you to love me." If you thought, "Oh, you? I don't love you. Are you kidding?" So the fact that she asked that question, "I'm also just a girl asking a boy, can you love me?" And that's, can you love me? Can you share my life? You have to ask that question, you have to believe you're worth it. You want to be with me, live with me, share my life, be with me. You want to marry me? We don't ask those questions thinking, "Oh God, the answer is going to be no." We ask them thinking, how could they not love me? So always go back to the one thing you need to find love. You're worthy of it and you're deserving of it. That is the one thing. It will never be anything else but that one thing. And it's no one else's job to give you that. It's your job. No one else can do that. If you don't believe you're worthy, you can attract love and you'll start to repel it. So it's your job to make yourself know that you're worthy. It's not your partner's job, it's your job. Own your job, do your job, and let love find you and stay with you forever, because you've done the job of wiring and firing and coding in that you are worth it, because that is the truth about you and the truth about all of us. Check out my next video here.